So, former President Jacob Zuma is behind bars, but yesterday there was uncertainty over whether police should act on Zuma or they should have waited on the Constitutional Court to give a directive since he had applied to have his sentence rescinded, and that application is still pending. So was the Apex Court expected to clarify its position on this matter following developments after sentencing Zuma? Let's talk to attorney Richard Spoor about this particular issue. Thank you so much for talking to me, Mr. Spoor. The debate, in fact, we saw that letter yesterday being sent by former President Jacob Zuma's lawyers to the acting Chief Justice to basically say, you know, we ask you to stay the execution of the detention warrant pending the hearing of the rescission application, which is only taking place on Monday next week. And in today's speak, they were quote unquote blue ticked in that there was no response, certainly that we are aware of publicly, from the Constitutional Court. And also the police minister himself was, in a way, as they say, blue-ticked when he was asking for clarity whether or not to go ahead and arrest former President Jacob Zuma while that matter of the rescission application is pending. Was there ever confusion in your mind around the right course of action in the wake of a judgment of the Constitutional Court and order of the Constitutional Court last week, and these separate applications and processes having kicked in?
There's no confusion at all. First of all, you don't approach a court writing letters to it. It's an adversarial process. All the parties should have the opportunity to be heard, and there's a procedure that you approach a court, and that's application. You file a formal application, and you request the court to hear that application, to hear the other side, and make a decision. You don't do it by writing letters. There seems to have been a major mistake. I think we heard the arguments on Monday about in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Order.
Mr. Spoor, you seem to be having a bit of a connection delay and a bit of a challenge with your connection. Let's give it one more try. You say there seems to have been a major mistake. Which mistake are you alluding to?
The mistake was to approach the High Court for a stay of execution, whereas you should have approached the Constitutional Court. You know, if Mr. Zuma's legal team had the opportunity to apply for a reconsideration or a rescission of the order that was made previously, they should have included in that an application for a stay pending that hearing. But they didn't do so. Instead, they chose to approach the Pietermaritzburg High Court. We'll hear what happens on Friday, but I have no doubt at all that the court will dismiss that application. And frankly, Mr. Zuma's prospects to have a reconsideration or rescission heard successfully on Monday is vanishing small. I think there's a broad consensus that the court is not going to change it. And it seems that this sentence is going to stand, and the former president will have to serve his time.
All right, Mr. Spoor, because we're having a bit of a challenge with your connection, I want to ask you a question that I asked Advocate Paul Hoffman, and then I'll let you go because of the challenge we are facing. I'd framed it to him as a question of legal philosophy and pondering our sense of justice as a society. There's a debate out there that's raging about, you know, taking a man who's 79 years old to prison for a matter of contempt of court in the circumstances that it is happening at the moment. But the other side of the debate says the rules and the law must be upheld. Let justice be done, though the heavens might fall. What is your sense about the issues of accountability? Is our thirst for justice and accountability quenched by this particular imprisonment of the 79-year-old man who, albeit was once a constitutional being and a holder of a constitutional office, and therefore subject to the restraints of our constitution and issues around accountability?
I've It's a good thing that the law has been upheld, but the fact remains he is 79 years old. He is a former president. While people are critical of his record, what's not in dispute is that his service to this country in the early 90s in bringing peace to KwaZulu-Natal was significant. I do believe that there is a very strong argument for the president to consider a pardon of former President Zuma. And I think the former president will be well advised to consider this and to make a formal approach to Cyril Ramaphosa and ask for a pardon in relation to this matter and in relation to the arms deal case that he faces. I believe that justice has been upheld, but 79-year-old former president serving years in prison where his health is not particularly good, I think that becomes harsh, that is difficult, and I think everybody is being vindicated here, but there is always room for mercy, and I believe that there should be mercy extended to Mr. Zuma.
All right, thank you for that, Richard Spoor. I would have wanted to engage you a bit further, but unfortunately the line is definitely letting us down. But I think we got the gist of what you are saying. Always good speaking to you there. That's Richard Spoor weighing in. You will have heard what he's saying there around issues to consider in dealing. In fact, his advice is that he thinks that it would be better for former President Jacob Zuma to apply, to be encouraged to apply for a presidential pardon, given his age and his state of health, and also throw in there his record as someone who did fight for the liberation of South Africa. Make no mistake about that. He was part of the struggle for the liberation and freedom and democracy to bring it about. And now